What is up? What is up? What is up? Welcome back to the stream. Checking a couple audio things real quick here. Nice. Perfect. Perfect. That's what I say. Not perfect, but we're getting better every time. How's everybody doing? Good. So last week we did the 500 subscriber celebration live stream, and now let me just check real quick. Let me just see where we're at real quick here. 579. So we gained quite a bit in just a week. So appreciate you. Hats off. Hats off to all you gentlemen and probably one lady out there. It's all good. It's all good. So before we get started, I wanted to lay out kind of like what the stream's going to be about tonight, because last time we did a whole bunch of Q&A. I had a whole bunch of questions from subscribers and people that watch and stuff like that. And so that took up a majority of the stream. So going forward, I was like, how do I want to structure the stream so that it's entertaining for people, you know, and at the same time they get something out of it? Like, how do we have some like deep conversations, but then also some fun, you know? That's what these live streams are for. I want the live streams to primarily be a hangout with you guys. We talk, you know, hopefully have some good conversations, and then we watch some interesting content and I react to it. So the format, I think, going forward is I'm going to choose 1 to 2 topics that are more like serious, you know, almost like that I would typically do a video on. And then we'll talk about that and kind of go back and forth. If people have questions and stuff like that, we'll answer them, kind of get it back and forth. And then we'll move into like the reacting. I have some funny videos, and then I have some like more self-help serious stuff so that hopefully we can get something out of it. And then towards the end, I have I think I have some relationship stuff queued up. So the other goal for the streams will be, since we're so new here, right? The other goal for the stream will be for me to be able to farm content for the YouTube channel. So like, for instance, I'll probably, every time we load up a video to react to it, like I'll end up clipping that video and then I'll end up posting it on the YouTube channel, right? So before I go into every video, I might like give an introduction again, and you might be like, why is he welcoming everybody to the channel? We've been here for like an hour, you know? That's why it's going to be just for the YouTube stuff. So yeah. So hopefully everybody's having a good night, good Thursday evening. So Thursdays are working out pretty good for me. I think that's going to be what I will stick to for at least the foreseeable future. Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern, be here. Don't miss out. Don't miss out. Okay, so let's move into the first topic. Let's just get this rolling, right? So what I wanted to talk about was, you can get out my little cheat sheet here. I wrote some of this down just because there's like some quotes and stuff in there, and I really wanted to make sure that I didn't mess the quotes up. I cannot remember everything, especially today. Like, my brain's just been like ADHD brain or something. But all right, so the first topic I want to talk about is the fear of fatherhood and why do men hesitate when it comes to having kids. So I think I can speak quite a bit to this one, but I also wanted to, open it up to everybody else to hear what they had to say too, because statistically, at least in the United States, we're not really having kids as much as we used to. And some might say it's a good thing, some might say it's a bad thing, whatever. You know, I'm a little bit impartial to that, or I'm a little bit like on the fence with that one, because We're definitely not in shortage of people. We have enough people. Definitely have enough people with problems. So I think that alone is probably the first thing when people even sit down to talk about having kids as a couple. They're like, this world's not doing so great. And there's a lot of people out there that have problems already. And, do we want to add another human being to the mix, right? So that was definitely something that I thought of when I was younger too. But majority of my reason for not having kids, because I don't have any kids, was how I was raised, how the impression that my father left on me was not one that motivated me to have kids. So, but anyways, let's dive into this a little bit and let's talk about just some of the aspects that are, I think, stopping men from having kids nowadays. So there's this quote by Frank Pittman, and I saw it and I was like, that's pretty good. And it just talks about fatherhood in general. It said, "The guys who fear becoming fathers don't understand that fathering is not something perfect men do, but something that perfects the man." I was like, I think idealistically, if we all looked at fatherhood like that, that is the way that it should be, right? And I think probably a lot of people don't look at it that way. And if we're like talking from like, okay, let's just go ideal like situation here. You are planning if you're going to have kids or not. So we're not talking like a oopsie, now I'm a dad. It's like, do I want to have kids? Do I not want to have kids? And you have the luxury of planning. So let's just like set out that framework there. I think, yeah, a lot of men think of that as quite the task. Like you're literally, and women do too, okay? But I don't really have a whole lot of women watching this channel, so I'm going to talk to you men. So I think a lot of times that is already a very tall order. Like, holy shit, like I'm raising this human and I'm not perfect. I'm flawed. What if they pick up my flaws, And so I was like thinking about that. And this quote just really captures that, because I'm pretty sure like as men kind of go through the different stages in life, we sort of mellow out anyways. And at the end of having kids and they're raised, I think if you ask most men, I think they would say at the end of that process that they feel more whole. Like that piece that was missing before kids that they didn't even know was missing is now, filled. Now, that is the ideal situation, right? So one of the things that I think is probably holding a lot of guys back is, and I just did a video about this 2 videos ago, I think, and it was just about how the multi-generations of war, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Gulf War, Iraq, Afghanistan, think of the amount of generations of men that went to war only to, if they're lucky, to return just absolutely scarred from war, right? And I had to like say in my video that I was generalizing, and like I realized not all veterans come back from war like messed up and stuff, right? But even if we said 20% of the men that fought in all of these wars and conflicts, if they came back messed up, that's still a lot of men to then go on to have kids that they're not able to properly raise, right? And in the video, I talk about my dad and how my dad was not a good dad. And I think that looking back on it, I kind of zoomed out a little bit. My dad didn't go to war, but my grandfather did go to war. And my grandfather was a lot like my dad. And when I say that, I mean, it was like just distant, not going to hug you, not going to say he loves you. You know what I mean? Like you basically just stay out of his way. And I was thinking to myself, I was trying to put it like myself into my dad's shoes. And I was like, how would it be growing up with my grandfather for a dad? And then I could see exactly the traits that my dad got from my grandfather. My dad was very much the same way. It was a good day if I just stayed out of his way. Right. And I think that type of attitude and feeling was one of the reasons why I decided not to have kids, because I personally was afraid that I would end up like my dad, and then I would put my kid through it, and it would just keep this cycle going. And I didn't want to do that. That was my choice. Now, as I'm older in life, and that window's past me now, like, God, I don't want kids now, but I could see how having that fear of becoming my dad and making all the mistakes my dad made and having all of the flaws that my dad had, I can see how that fear really affected the years of my life where I would be actually choosing to have kids or not, whatever, like 20s to 30s. And that was my primary reason not to have kids. And I think it's a noble one, but I also think that looking how I turned out now, I think I probably could have been a pretty good dad. Like, I think if I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to do everything the opposite of what my dad did, I think I could have been a good dad. But I do think that is one of the things that plagues men when they have a father figure that was not the best. I think it plagues them the same way it plagues me. And sometimes that makes men not choose to have kids. The other thing too about that generation and like just how they were back then was my dad. There was actually another quote. Let me see if I can find this quote, because it was pretty decent. I don't know who said this one, but boomer men, because that was my dad's generation, boomer men didn't know the difference between fear and respect. We feared them, but we didn't respect them. And the quote was reflecting on how older masculine models may impact modern men's emotional hesitancy. So it was absolutely true, because it was almost like that generation of men only knew how to just like yell. If you did something bad, they just yelled at you, and if you didn't listen, they yelled louder. Like it's gonna work if they yell again and just louder. And so, but I totally remember that, because I feared my dad, yeah, but I absolutely did not respect him. Like when I was a teen, I don't even know, maybe like 8th grade. You know what I mean? I just remember I was not good in school, because I love to learn, but I love to learn what I want to learn. Hence YouTube. Thank you, YouTube, right? I think a lot of people are like that. But anyways, I remember I came home with a report card, and it was bad, like it always was. And my mom was sitting there, called me to the table. And she was just like raking me over the coals, like, what do we have to do to get you to not be stupid? I don't know, whatever she was saying, right? And then my dad was never home. That was the thing. It was crazy. He was always working a whole lot, but never brought home any money. So, later found out that he wasn't really actually working. He just didn't want to be home. So anyways, he rolls in, and it's like, I don't know, 7:30, maybe almost 8 o'clock at night. He rolls in, and he opens the door, and he sees us sitting at the table, and he knows like we've been arguing, and like without even missing a beat, he just starts yelling at me. He like literally didn't even know what he was yelling about. He was just like, "Rah!" And I remember looking at him, and I said, the hell did I say? I was like, I guess that's something like, why should I listen to you? You're never here. Either why should I listen to you? You're never here, or like, what would you know? You're never here. And it was true. And he got very angry. And rightfully so. I mean, that was pretty shitty of me to say, like a snotty nosed kid. But the thing that I saw in his face was he was kind of like, fair point. You know, behind like the, I'm still angry. It was like, I got him. You know what I mean? I was like, got him. But then I get like when I read that little quote, I thought back, I was like, yeah, I didn't respect my dad. And I was like, when did that start though? I'm pretty sure that was like 8th grade. I don't even know if I was in high school yet, you know, and I already did not respect him as a father and as a man too, you know. So I think that fear of not having the tools to then, like, you don't want your kids not to respect you, and you're like, well, I just don't want to act like my dad, but you don't have any other guidance beyond that. You don't have any other role model or like the puzzle pieces like I talked about in my last video. You're literally just like, I don't know. And I know that a lot of times people say parenthood is like that, but we're talking about when someone has the choice ahead of time nowadays to decide to have children or not. These are the things that kind of hold men back. I think the other thing is that provider role and the feeling of, well, twofold, really. I think one is like, holy smokes, kids are expensive. How am I even going to afford one of these little crotch goblins? And I think that's very stressful. And so probably a lot of men are like, I'll just save a little bit more money. Once I have this much money in the bank account, or, you know, save. And people always say, like, you're never actually ready, and you're definitely never financially ready, because I think it's something like crazy. Like, a child costs like $1 million or something like that. Actually, let me chat GPT that real quick. I'm curious. I'll do it on my phone. I'm curious. How much does I gotta make sure I word this correctly so it's not like I'm trying to buy a child. How much does a child cost to raise from an infant to an adult in the United States of America? Come on, chat. That was in 2015. So in 2015, raising a child from birth to age 17 costs about $233,000. That was in 2015. 2023, 2024 ranges closer to $414,000. But that doesn't actually... It doesn't actually look like it's putting in like the... like if you were going to pay for college and stuff like that. A lot. Hopefully I worded that correctly and no one's going to come try to kick the door down. So anyways, you know, if you're like a man and you're thinking ahead of, you're trying to plan ahead, you're like, okay, as soon as I save up $415,000, we'll start trying to have a kid. You know, I don't think that that's realistic. And I think that's not really the way that, I don't think that's the way it goes down most of the time. However, I think it's a stressor because men know how much it actually costs, and it's a lot. So I think that's a big thing. So basically, failed role models or lack of role models and finances, having that ability to support a family once you have it. I think those are two big things. And then I'll say like the next one, I think the next one is probably everybody goes through this. So I don't think it's unique to men, but it's just the fact of like you know how much your life is going to change and how much stuff you're going to have to give up and sacrifice, either like to stop spending money and save money, or just time. You know, you love to golf and now you have a child and it's really hard to golf because you got to be watching your child. You want to spend time with your child because you don't want to be like your dad who is never home. So now it's like, oh, but I don't want to give up who I am, who my identity is. I think that that's a big fear. And I think that that is probably a little bit more of like a modern fear, like a, you know, a modern day fear, because if we were to look back in like the 40s or something like that, they didn't really do anything for fun. There wasn't fun. It was like, I wake up, I work, I either work in the field or I work in the factory. I come home, I eat dinner, I go to bed. Like there wasn't enough like extra to go around to even afford fun, you know? And I don't mean like just monetarily. It's like hours in a day, you know, they were just work, 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 work. And when I think about that, I think that that is a little bit more of a modern problem, but it's a valid one, you know? Like, do you want to give up who you are? I think the answer is, I don't have the answer, obviously, but I think the answer is it's like who you are is going to change when you have children. And I would bet that if you're a good dad, it won't actually affect you, that you're no longer able to do a lot of the other stuff that you used to do when you were, you know, young and single, because you'll have a family and it will be rewarding just in a different way, you know? And then they grow up and you go back to being able to do whatever you want to do, you know? So, yeah. Drop a comment. I would love to hear if you're a man thinking about having children, what fear do you have? What makes you hesitate? What makes you second guess yourself? You know? Drop it in the comment, because I guarantee you there's other men out there that feel the same way, and I'm sure they'd love to read it so that they don't feel, you know, so alone. So, all right. The other topic that I want to talk about here in just a second. And again, if anybody in the chat has anything to say, you know, drop it, comment in the chat. Love to hear it. Love to have that conversation here, but if not, just have the conversation in the YouTube comments. All right, moving on to the next topic. All right, so I'm going to introduce this one like a YouTube video, because I'm going to try to clip it. I'm going to try to clip it and use it for that. So, all right, welcome back to the channel. Today I had something to say, and I think it's going to be something that a lot of people have either experienced or been with somebody that's experienced this. That's trust issues. Trust issues are they're difficult. That's all I got to say about that. They're difficult. But I think that if you look at trust issues a specific way, you can kind of push past it, you know? You can push past the trust issues, especially if you have a partner that is willing to, like, that understands you have trust issues. I think you can overcome these things. But I have some tips that most of these are my personal tips, but I did a little Googling to see if I could find any other good ideas to share with everybody. And these helped me out quite a bit. So, first thing to deal with trust issues when you have the trust issues, helping your partner through it, that's a different video. Okay. So if your partner has trust issues, maybe they watch this video, but this will be from the point of view that you have trust issues. So step one, you have to acknowledge your feelings. Like, you have to acknowledge the fact that you actually have trust issues. And a lot of times that starts with, instead of pointing at somebody else, you turn the finger around and you point it at yourself and you say, okay, like, I have issues, right? There's no harm in that. Honestly, that's like the very first step anybody needs to do to get through anything. You have to acknowledge the problem first, right? It's not a sign of weakness. When you say, I have trust issues, and you're talking to yourself, don't beat yourself up for it. Because a lot of times you have trust issues because of something someone else did to you. Those trust issues are just kind of evidence that someone hurt you in the past, you know? So it might hurt your pride a little bit, but try to reframe it a little bit. And instead of telling yourself, like, I'm so broken for feeling this way, try to reframe it. Tell yourself, I'm feeling this way because my brain is trying to protect me based on what has happened to me in the past. Right? I think that's step number one. Like, you have to say you have a problem. The other thing, I think this is probably where you really need to have an understanding partner. But if they're not understanding to this degree, when you're trying to work through this, if they're not understanding, then bye. You know what I mean? Like, it's, your life's going to be better moving on. So the next thing is being honest. And it's obviously everybody should be honest, but be honest about things that bother you before they blow up, right? Before they actually become a full-blown fight, and now you're arguing with your partner and you're referencing something that happened 2.5 weeks ago, and you're like, remember you did this thing? And to them, that thing, I guarantee you, is small, and they probably don't remember doing it because it's not a big deal to them. It's a big deal to you. And so you have to understand that, right? Like, for instance, you can make sure you say I, right? You don't want to blame anything on them, but you can say, hey, you know, I feel a little insecure about this. I'm a little upset about this. When I see your phone, you know, face down all the time, it triggers something in me where I remember that my ex in the past was doing that because they were hiding something from me. And so when I see you do it, it automatically makes me feel like you're hiding something. You're not saying they are. You're just saying, hey, this bothers me, and this is why it bothers me. Now, if they're a good partner and they're not hiding anything, flipping their phone from down to up should not be an issue at all, right? It literally should be like, oh yeah, totally get that. Flip it the other way. So just being forthcoming and honest and open before it builds and festers and becomes an argument, because I guarantee you, if it becomes an argument and you try to say that in the middle of an argument, they're going to be like, fuck you, right? In that moment, they're going to be pissed. So you need to, it needs to be done way before that. And it can go with a whole lot of stuff too, you know, like whatever. It kind of goes hand in hand with your boundaries. Like, you have to, and I've done videos on this, search under relationships, but you have to spend the time to think about your boundaries before you go into a relationship, especially after you've been burned. Because you need to make sure that you're not letting your trauma define all of your boundaries. It can guide them, but you need to make sure that when you set these boundaries, it needs to be done when your head is clear and you are in control, and you're like, okay, so yeah, the next person that comes along, turns out I'm not okay with them hanging out with their ex boyfriend all the time, or whatever the boundary is, right? You define it in the beginning. So then when you go on a couple dates with this new person and you get to the part where you're going to be exclusive with them, you can sit down and you can have an honest conversation. You can say, hey, these are my boundaries. These are my non-negotiables. I want you to understand that if we are together, that these cannot be broken. If they're broken, I'm gone. Lay it out. Make sure that they know that, like, if they break these, you're breaking up with them. And then you can say, are you okay with that? Do you agree with that? And they can go back and forth or whatever, and you can decide whether, if they have an issue with some of them, if you're going to change your boundary. But I guarantee you should not change your boundary, especially in the beginning when you're in that like honeymoon phase and you're like, oh, but maybe she can hang out with her ex and not bang him. My ex couldn't, but like, she seems so great. Maybe she'll be different, right? No, your boundaries were set prior to your brain injecting all of those love chemicals in your head, right? So that's why you do it before you get into this situation. Anyways, having that open conversation. That way, in your head, hey, if they break this, I'm gone. And it's on them, right? It doesn't matter how much they cry and boohoo or whatever. You can then say, no, I drew this line in the sand. You decided you wanted to break it, so I'm out, okay? The other thing, this is a little bit more of like, well, like say you're rebuilding trust, but it doesn't necessarily mean rebuilding with that person, right? It's more like you're rebuilding your ability to trust. And it has to come in like small things that are provable, right? Like, for instance, if they say, hey, I'm going to go do this thing and I'm going to be home at 7 or whatever, you could say, okay, yeah. And in your head, you might be going, oh boy, red alert, red alert, red alert, right? Like, oh, she's going to be going and doing all this stuff or whatever. Maybe, right? But what you can look for is the consistency and the things that she can follow through on. Like, does she actually come home at 7 when she says she's going to be home at 7? And if it's 7:05, it doesn't mean you're driving over to her house being like, who the fuck is here, right? No, it's just you're looking for them to say, I'm going to do this thing. And then you sit back and watch if they actually do the thing. If they do the thing, in your mind, you can sort of let that guard down a little bit and then on to the next thing and then on to the next example and whatever, as long as it doesn't cross your boundary, right? I mean, like, your boundaries are there for a reason, just like we talked about. But building trust, look for the small things first, because there really isn't ever going to be a way for you to like 100% prove to your brain that someone's not going to break your trust. There will always be a question mark, right? There'll always be a question mark. So we're trying to basically give you tips on how you can live with that question mark in your life, because it's always going to be there. And your brain is always going to try to turn it into something that it's maybe not, So I think this next one is a little bit, I don't want to say it's like wooey, but it's like way harder. It's way harder to actually do. And that's practicing empathy and forgiveness for the people in your past that actually broke your trust and gave you these trust issues to begin with. That's tough, right? Because we all want to be like, no, screw that person. I wish the worst for them, right? But I think what that does is it keeps that wound open, like anger keeps wounds open. And the other thing I think that is important to try and do, as much as you may not agree with why, as much as you might not agree with what they did, figuring out why they did it is important to moving on. Now, you're never going to hear the real reason why they did it from them. Closure doesn't exist, right? So don't even waste your time. But what you do need to do is spend some time thinking about the relationship. What led up to that? When did it start? When did you start noticing things, right? Like spend some time really reflecting on what the hell happened until you can come up with a reason in your mind. And I'll give you like a little bit of a comparison, okay? So when I worked in physical therapy, sometimes we would have, we'll use athletes in this example. Sometimes we'd have athletes that would come in that would have sustained an injury playing a sport, right? And the ones that would take the longest to recover sometimes were the ones that, let's just say that their knee, right? They're running down the soccer field and their knee just blows out, ACL, MCL, whatever, just, now they have surgery and they're in a boot and, all that stuff, walking around on crutches. Those athletes tended to take longer to recover and rehabilitate than the ones that were playing soccer and someone slide tackled into the side of their leg, causing their knee to blow out, right? Because that athlete knows exactly why their knee blew out on them. The other athlete who was just running down the field and their knee just gave out on them and blew out, they're going to doubt and they're not going to have trust in their knee for a while. And you, through rehab, have to prove to them that it's ready for them to go out and play and it's going to be fine. Because in their mind, nothing happened. It just gave out, right? And so there's that fear there. There's that lack of trust in their own body. So now if we just use that same concept and we apply it to a relationship, if you're just like, I don't know, she just decided to cheat on me one day. Well, that's kind of scary, right? That's quite a bit of uncertainty and it's very painful, just like blowing your knee out. So if you could go back through and you can give it a why it happened, it'll be way easier to put closure on it for yourself so that you can move on and you can trust the next person, once they prove themselves. So I think that is so important. And a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people just like, screw her. Hop on Instagram. Yo, who's around? So you need to spend that time, define why it happened as much as you can so that you can give closure to yourself and you can move on. The last thing is, obviously, if you want to trust somebody, you have to be trustworthy yourself. And that means if you want to be in a relationship where when they tell you they're going to be home at 7, they're home at 7. Well, if you tell them you're going to be home at 7, you need to try your best to be home at 7. Just it's a respect thing. It's a trust thing. If you need that from them, you need to be willing to give it to them, even if they didn't ask for it. Like if you want trust from somebody, you have to be able to be trustworthy so it can go back and forth. So hopefully that helped. If it did, drop a comment. I'd love to hear it. If you have any tips actually to share with people on how you got over trust issues in the past, again, leave a comment. I'm sure people would love to hear it. Sipping on my coffee at 8:45 at night. Gotta stay hyped. Okay. Let's move into some React videos now. So this should be queued up, ready to go. So the first couple ones are funny ones, and I'm probably not going to make a clip out of it. So we'll just watch them and I'll react. And then the more serious ones, though, I'll probably try to do like a little intro to them, and then we'll go from there. So let me get my notes out of the way. All right. So this one's a funny one, or at least it's from a funny person. It's called Tent Hunters. California couple searches for their dream home. All right, let's get it.
Meet Sam and Rachel, newlyweds looking for their first home in California. He invents new kinds of hot sauce, and she's a professional Coachella ticket scalper.
Oh
Together, they have a budget of $450,000.
That's always the way it is.
We're looking for something with
on
an
those
open
shows,
floor plan and
people
room
have
to start
like
a family.
no job.
My
and
must-haves
their
are
budget's
central air
insane.
and some space where I can work.
This is what you can afford.
No. We need
Trust
to.
me, it's California. This is what you can afford. This couple is about to get tent hunted with me, Mavis Mangdorian.
Oh my God.
This is a Marmot tungsten 3-person. It has a tarp ceiling and a great
this down a
curb
little bit.
appeal.
Yeah, it's literally on the curb.
Well, I kind of like it, but I worry about traffic noise. It's a little close to the street.
Yeah.
Better?
What do you think, honey?
Are you serious? Why would I want to live in a tent like this?
Well,
That's a good question. Why would you want to live in a tent in California? I don't know, but a lot of people do.
it has a zipper and inside pockets
Ooh, a
where you
zipper.
can put beef jerky and flashlights and stuff.
You know I love beef jerky and flashlights.
Plus, just look at this bathroom.
What
Oh
bathroom?
my God.
You're telling me
Oh my
it doesn't even
God.
have a toilet?
Well, that depends on your definition of toilet.
Absolutely not.
Okay, then let's look at another property. I think I have one that is right up your alley.
I love it.
Oh, we're literally up an alley.
This is a Coleman Limonite backcountry. It has
I think I had that tent. I think I had that tent before. I think it's like a Walmart special. I love this because it's like playing right into those freaking house hunter, house flipper shows that were so popular for so long. And I was always like, how can these people afford, like, one runs a doggy daycare or something, you know? Like, how can they afford this?
collapsible poles and a ground tarp. And Rachel, you are gonna love this. There's a construction site with porta potties right on the other side of that fence.
That's
I
luxury.
Can smell it.
And in the back of the tent,
That's
there's a
luxury.
bolt cutter that you can use to break off the lock that they put on at night.
Awesome. What's the neighborhood like?
So on this side, there's a crack house. And on this side, there's a crack house.
Oh,
Are those needles?
Yeah, they do other drugs too, besides crack.
Well, I love the ground tarp, and the neighbors seem fun. But I worry with all these buildings, it might not get much natural light.
Don't worry, I have one more property to show you that I think
Oh
will
my
satisfy
God.
your need for light and your need for a sanitary place to make number twos.
Gross. I didn't say anything about
Let's go.
Oh my God.
Welcome to the beautiful California River Basin.
Oh
Here we
my
have
God.
a Coleman 4-person sun dome. This is a waterfront property with,
Sorry, waterfront?
yeah, sometimes when it rains, there's water in there.
I love it. What features does this tent have?
It has front and rear double flap entrances, and it has a mesh ceiling to keep out those bugs, but let that light in that you were so desiring. And it even has this thingy.
And what is that
This thingy.
I don't know. I'm not a Boy Scout, Rachel. I don't live in a tent.
Ooh.
I think this could be our dream home, babe.
I don't know about any of this. I wanted a family. How are we gonna raise a baby in a tent?
Oh,
Welcome
you
to
could keep it in a
California, baby.
box.
What's a baby box?
A box you keep a baby in?
Oh my God.
And you haven't even heard the best part about this location.
Oh yeah, what's that?
So there's a Starbucks up on the hill. With
Oh,
a
pumpkin
real
spice
working
lattes.
bathroom. And
Oh
they put
my
a lock
God.
on the door to keep out you people. But the code is 52611.
That means you can make your number 2s, and I can shower in the sink.
Will you stop talking about my number 2s?
Oh my God. Cozy crack house. They did always have like really corny names for the different houses.
Take it. I just can't believe we're gonna live this way. Aren't people gonna judge us?
Don't worry. I know a way we can make sure everyone has to live this way.
Oh. Yeah. He's gonna try.
Bill Noof here.
He's
I'm a
gonna
famous
try,
person,
that's for
so
sure.
You already know who I am. I'm just here to remind you to like, comment, and subscribe.
All right, let me get to the next one here.
All right, how we doing, guys?
All right. I always thought that was freaking hilarious. Watching those freaking shows. For one thing, I would only watch them when I was like sick at home. You know, like laying on the couch. I'm like, I just need something that's going to play all day long. I don't care what it is. And it would always be these freaking house shows, house flipping, whatever. So, this next one. Support group for men whose wives are getting fat. Oh, let's see.
All right, how we doing, guys? How's your week? Wife's still fat.
Yeah, mine put on a few.
Mine outweighs me now.
Well, we have a new member today. His name is Dom, and his wife is getting fat.
Hi, Dom.
Hey, Dom.
Hi, my name's Dom, and my wife's getting fat.
How fat we talking, brother?
Pretty fat. You know, I met her back in college. She was cute, solid 7. And a few years goes by, boom, she's breaking out the sweatpants. I can't even afford the Uber Eats bill.
You're gonna have to take on a second job to feed her.
At first, I remember her boobs were getting bigger, and I was like, hello, but then it didn't stop. And I was like, hello, at 170, that's a lot of weight.
170? Is this a joke?
I'd kill for $170.
Yeah, I thought this was a support group for guys with fat wives. That's just a little bit of cushion. You might want to go down the hall, Dom. Hey, guys.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm sorry to laugh. This is a serious problem.
All of our wives were 170 at one point, okay? And for all you know, she was a buck even when he met her.
Yeah, guys, I'm telling you, she's pretty fat.
Let me guess. Second dinner from time to time?
Oh yeah, 170? Like, does she ever slap the hand of the waiter away because he takes the plate before she's licked it off, Dom? Hey, this isn't a competition, guys. We all have fat wives. And
So I did do a video, not necessarily just on fat wives, but on the importance of trying to be as attractive as you can, for one thing, but trying to stay looking like the person that your partner fell in love with, right? Because, again, love and desire are on two different paths. Love, desire. And sometimes they're going, the same way. But if, if you like girls that are 120 pounds and blonde, and you meet one and you marry her, and then 5 years later, she goes from 125 to 225 and dyes her hair black, she does not look anything like the person that you fell in love with. Will you still love her? Yes. Will you want to bang her? Maybe. Not a strong definite.
I apologize for them. They're just a little testy. Their wives have gotten very fat.
I'm sorry. I've just had a tough week. Okay? Last night, my wife decides to take a bath.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I guess she got tired of me hitting her with the cold hose. Anyways, chaos ensues. She floods the whole first floor. Latino landlord kicks open the door. Guy soaked, thought it was the rapture, poor prick.
Sorry to hear that, brother.
Yeah, no, she's still in there. Gotta go home after this and grease her out.
I recommend Valvoline full synthetic for that.
I keep a pallet of it in the garage if you ever need.
Jenny, why don't you tell Dom your story?
So, as you guys might know, it started when she got pregnant.
Yeah, pregnant. Well, how's that count?
That was 8 years ago, Dom. Just stay in your lane, man. Just listen, okay? Listen.
No crosstalk.
When she was 9 months pregnant, that would have been ideal compared to what we're working with now. She could have been an extra in a rap video. Now we're talking about novelty birthday cards, Dom.
Oh my
I still have
God.
nightmares thinking about the flight we took last month. I was stuck in between her and her fat sister. Both of them had 2 seatbelt extenders, and I'm just there in the middle fighting for my life. I can barely breathe.
I'm confused. Is this a group for people's wives who are currently fat or getting fat? It's
Kind of both, but she's tough.
And then COVID hit.
It's kind of both. Well, you know, there's definitely signs that it's coming, right? If your partner starts to become unhealthy and starts putting on weight and makes zero effort to change it, it is going to take a miracle for them to suddenly wake up one day and be like, you know what? I'm going to change. Because most people don't.
And all hell broke loose. It's almost like these fat wives don't care about our happiness at all.
Unfortunately, your contentment isn't even on your fat wife's radar.
You know, they say they get nicer when they get fat, but that's a myth, brothers.
Oh, that's rich, Daryl. Your wife's on Ozempic, isn't she? Isn't she? It didn't take!
What the? It didn't take.
It didn't take.
Oh my God.
Doctor said never seen anything like it in his life. Complete anomaly. I looked at her search history yesterday, and all it was body positivity Reddit.
Oh, fuck. Yeah. You're done.
God.
You're done.
Put a fork in her, you're cooked.
It's got her head all fucked up.
The whole body positivity movement was such bullshit, and I'm glad it's kind of coming to an end. Bill Burr, the comedian, had a joke about this, but he absolutely nailed it on the head. I don't remember the whole joke, but the whole basis of the joke was to shine a light that the women that are the skinny women that are talking about body positivity do not care about the fat women. In fact, they want those fat women to get fatter so they do not have to compete with them anymore in the sexual marketplace, i.e. dating, right? It's like, oh yeah, fatty, you looking good. Don't let anybody tell you shouldn't be fat. Keep on eating. I'll just have my salad over here, and I'm going to go to the gym later on because I want to make sure I look good for my next date.
Yeah.
Every time I talk about Ozempic, she says it's a fat genocide.
God damn it. Look at us. We all envisioned our lives as just a moderately hot wife, nothing out of the ordinary. Now people see us and they say, what are you doing, buddy?
I just can't stop thinking it's my fault.
It's not your fault.
It's not your fault, Tom.
I ignored the signs. Her mother was fat. And all the snacks.
Coming, dear? Oh, sorry, forced
The PTSD.
The belching and shit. And the other day, we're walking to Arby's, right? And
Hold on. This guy's wife's still walking to get food? I can't listen to this shit.
Hey, you got a problem, pal?
I got a 379-pound problem, motherfucker. Sounds like your wife's just thick.
Oh, well, if your wife's so fat, how about we see her?
You got 10 minutes? Because you're gonna wanna wash your eyes out when you're done.
Yeah, well, my fat wife would eat both of your fat wives for breakfast and spit out the bones. I have a plumber on retainer because her turds are so big. No!
I like that guy.
Hey, that's what these fat pigs want, okay?
Oh my
Look at
God.
us, arguing amongst ourselves. What are they doing? They're eating.
Fat
now
pigs.
Sit down.
Jesus.
Guys, I'm sorry.
Holy.
That is what those fat
Do
pigs
not
want.
take this out on your fat wifed brethren. So what if his wife's only 170? We all been there. And you know what else we know? That she ain't staying 170 for long.
You know what I'm starting to think, actually? I'm starting to think you don't have a fat wife at all.
Yeah, you guys think that I started this group because I'm dating olive oil?
Allegedly.
I assure you the woman is a beast, okay? I seen her take down 9 McDoubles as a snack.
Coming!
And then she burps out the bag.
Yeah, you know what? Well, if my fat wife was standing next to your fat wife would be depressed. And not because she can't get snacks from my fat wife, it's because my fat pig wife would be blocking out the sun.
You know, this is the last thing I want to have to do, but this is my wife when we first met.
Oh, beautiful girl. Yes.
Yeah, well, snap out of it and put some goggles on, because this is her now. Oh my God. It was taken from up high, too.
Oh my God.
Ah, yes.
Oh,
The up high.
oh my God. What was that? I know that gate from anywhere. That's my fat wife. You have to hide me. She can't know I'm here.
Oh my God, she's gonna eat all of us.
Oh my God.
We do gotta get out of
Holy
here.
shit.
All right, how we doing?
Oh my God.
I've taken.
All right, how we doing,
Good
guys?
Lord. Always,
I've taken the
it
classic
moves
5.
the pause button. There we go. Oh man. Oh, I love it. I love it. Too funny. Too funny. All right, so I take creatine every day, mostly 5 milligrams, but I've been doing like a cut, restart. So I take creatine every day. I take 5 milligrams, but lately I've been doing like a heaping scoopful because I was hearing whispers of research that showed higher dosage, like 10 plus grams, milligrams, whatever it is better for cognitive benefits, especially with sleep deprivation. So anyways, I saw this video that was talking about it, and this guy, I took 20 grams. All right, so it's grams, 5 grams, 10 grams. This guy took 20 grams of creatine for 60 days. Did not expect this. So I figured we'd see what he came up with, what he experienced, and go from there. That's like a lot more than I take, though, and that would be kind of expensive, so it better be worth it.
I've taken the classic 5 grams of creatine a day for over a decade. And if I'm being honest, I could never tell if it was doing anything or not. There was no strength increase I could clearly measure, and no obvious mental benefit I could feel. But it's cheap, it's safe, it's backed by a ton of research, and a lot of other athletes are taking it. And I always wondered, what if I'm one of the non-responders to creatine? Because
is that a thing? If it's a thing, how would I know if I am or not? Because I'll stop buying it if I'm a non-responder.
studies estimate that up to 30% of people have no real change in stored creatine or performance.
30%.
And recently, a few new studies came out that got me thinking that maybe the issue might be the dose. So I decided to test this out. I went from 5 grams to 20 grams a day to see if a higher dose would have any impact.
All right.
I wasn't expecting much, but by week 4, I did notice something new. And in this video, I want to walk you through what the latest research says about creatine and why some people might not respond, how I structured my new creatine protocol, what I personally experienced both mentally and physically,
what we're here
and
for.
whether taking 4 times the standard dose is actually worth it. So let's get into it. So why should you care about creatine in the first place? Well, it's one of the most studied supplements out there. There's a large body of evidence showing it can improve your performance. Creatine works by helping your body regenerate ATP, which is the primary energy source for high-intensity activity like lifting weights or sprinting. And the idea behind supplementing is that if more creatine is stored in your muscles, it means more available energy. You're able to push a little bit harder, get 1 or 2 more reps, hit that like button quicker, and get more progress over time. It's also considered very safe. Creatine has been studied in athletes, older adults, and even kids. It's one of the few supplements that almost everyone agrees is worth trying.
And I also believe that they really say that as it's one of the supplements that you should take as you age too. just because most people, as they age, they start to lose muscle mass, etc. It's harder to put on muscle, all that stuff. So, and since it's cheap and easy and so well studied that as you age, they say, hey, you should take creatine.
There's a side of creatine that's rarely talked about. Research shows that about 5% of creatine is stored in your brain, where it plays a role in cognitive function, mood regulation, and resilience under stress. Studies have found that higher creatine levels in the brain are associated with better short-term memory, improved reaction time, and less mental fatigue, especially in people who are sleep deprived, on a plant-based diet, or under high stress.
This is what I've been hearing.
Here's something most people don't know. The brain doesn't saturate with creatine as efficiently as muscle tissue. For some people, the standard 5-gram dose might not be enough to see noticeable effects on cognition, so I wanted to see if I'm one of those people who would benefit from a higher dose. So I ran the experiment. I didn't want to jump straight to 20 grams a day. Instead, I gradually increased the dose over 3 weeks to give my body time to adapt and minimize side effects. Because
yeah, one of the side effects, sometimes, depending on the brand and the dose, creatine does not make my stomach very happy.
Some people do report bloating or mild discomfort with digestion when increasing creatine too fast, especially if you're not well hydrated. So to minimize the risk of issues, I also increased my water intake to above 4 liters per day as I followed the ramp-up protocol. Week 1, I doubled my intake to 10 grams per day, split into 2 5-gram doses. Week 2, I bumped it up to 15 grams, split into 2 doses. And week 3, I went to the full 20 grams, 10 grams at breakfast, and 10 with dinner. Taking creatine with meals,
that's actually smart, breaking it up into 2.
And also further helps minimize any
morning and evening
issues. And I've been doing 20 grams daily now for about 2 months. And there are a few reasons I wanted to take this experiment seriously. First, I wanted to see if I was leaving any gains on the table. After almost 15 years of lifting weights consistently and pushing myself, I've hit a point of diminishing returns. It can take months to hit a personal best in an exercise, and at this stage, every extra rep matters. The second reason was a little more personal. Both sides of my family have a history of Alzheimer's. A few years ago, I did a DNA test and found out that I also carry 1 copy of the APOE4 gene, which is associated with an increased risk. And
see, that's another benefit of taking it when you're aging, and maybe that has always been one of the reasons why, and I just didn't know it. But dementia, Alzheimer's, I don't know what the exact diagnosis was, but it definitely does run on one side of my family. So, and it's pretty terrifying. So if I can just take, a scoop or 2 of some supplement and have a chance at avoiding that being the end of my life, I will gladly do that.
Then, I've been a lot more intentional about staying up to date with research on brain health and cognition. And creatine is one of the supplements that's being studied for that. Actually, just recently, I saw a study of people with Alzheimer's who had improvements in memory and brain creatine saturation after taking 20 grams a day. Even if the research is still early, it's worth paying attention to. I'm not saying creatine prevents cognitive decline, but if there's even a small chance it can help support brain function long term, that's a reason enough for me to take a closer look, because I saw firsthand
100%.
what Alzheimer's did to my grandparents.
100%.
And the final reason came down to having our second daughter a little over a month ago. If you ever raised a newborn, you know it gets very chaotic. When our first daughter was born, sleep deprivation wrecked me. I felt like I was in survival mode every day. With high fatigue and poor recovery, I was practically deloading for the entire first 2 months. Even 2 sets per exercise felt brutal. This time with our second, I wanted to see if this could make any difference, especially the research showing it can help reduce mental fatigue and improve function under sleep deprivation. And it's a good real-life A/B test because my schedule is about the same.
That's a good point. See, with me, like my schedule's all over the place, and it'd be hard to tell if I was like fatigued from a poor night's sleep, hard workout, jujitsu, like all those different things. So it'd be a little harder for me to test. But I also, if the research is out there, I'm just, hey, I'll believe it. I'll just take it,
I lift 4 times per week for about an hour. I walk 8 to 10,000 steps per day. The diet is very healthy. I get about 180 grams of protein a day. Workload and number of coaching clients is about the same. By the way, for coaching, details are in the description. So bottom line, I have similar conditions as before, so I can see if this change actually does anything. And if increasing creatine helped me stay a bit more productive while running on 4 or 5 hours of sleep, it's worth trying out. So after all of this, did 20 grams of creatine actually do anything? Well, in the first week, nothing major changed.
Okay.
But by the end of week 2, when I was doing 15 grams a day, I started to notice some small changes, and it was related to focus. I was feeling a little bit sharper in the afternoon. Tasks that normally felt mentally heavy, like coaching calls and deep work, felt a bit easier. And I've always been skeptical of feeling supplements, especially things like creatine, where the benefits are supposed to be very subtle and long-term. But this didn't feel like placebo. Also doesn't feel the same as being caffeinated. It's when I'm at 15 to 20 grams of creatine a day, I'm just a bit less mentally drained at the end of the day. And that's the first thing that really stood out. Because in the gym...
Which is great, but that is kind of hard to like objectively quantify, you know, how he felt. Because a lot of times like sleep deprivation's not like the effects you feel from a poor night's sleep, sometimes it's felt a couple days later. You know, it's like cumulative. It adds up.
I wasn't seeing any big jumps. I did have a few really good workouts after a month of 20 grams per day despite poor sleep, but honestly it's hard to say whether or not that was from increasing the creatine or was it just doing less volume for each muscle group so I could recover better. Placebo or not, as long as I got a few more reps and workouts are better, I'm happy with that.
Right.
So after more
and
than
I'm in
a
the same
decade
camp. It's like
taking creatine and never noticing anything, this was the first time it actually felt like something was happening. And really made me wonder if maybe I was underdosing all those years, or was it now the combination of high stress, less sleep, and the increased dose that finally made the difference. I can't say for sure, but I can tell you that there is a difference. And for me, that makes the experiment worth it. So should you try a higher dose? Well, that's a question only you can answer. If the experiment inspired you and you're thinking about trying it out, you don't have any related medical issues, I think it's smart to do so strategically. Follow a protocol like I did, ramp up slowly, split the dose, and make sure you're well hydrated. Listen to your body closely and track your progress. Maybe you'll notice a lot more difference than I have.
The splitting the dose thing, that makes way more sense to me, because even when I'm doing my like big scooping or big like heaping scoop, it is all at once. And then if I drink like pre-workout right afterwards, which sometimes has some creatine in it as well, I can just have stomach issues. So it makes way more sense doing the first dose in the morning and the second dose in the evening to just get it in your system, but not all at once like that.
Maybe you don't notice much at all. It's difficult to tell. And if nothing improves, you can always go back to 5 grams a day. With this recent experience, I think I'll keep running 20 grams a day while we're getting to a more stable routine with the kids and then see how it goes. If I run into any issues, I'll go down to 15 or 10 grams. Time will tell. So far, I didn't have any bloating or excess water retention or any other problems. The only downside is going to the bathroom a bit more often with the increased water intake. So the experience overall has been positive, and that's why I wanted to share it.
Means you're hydrated.
Maybe you're in a similar situation like I am with higher stress and poor sleep, and this could make a difference. And by the way, if you're struggling with seeing progress in the gym even though you're training hard, watch this video next. I break down why so many guys are stuck looking average after years of lifting. Also, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.
And I'll end up linking his video, you know, in the description, like probably like tomorrow once this goes live, and you know, well, it's live, but once it's like saved to the channel. So that was interesting. I had been hearing whispers about that, so I think I will personally, I have a big tub of creatine right over there. I think I will give it a shot. I'll start ramping up. I've already been consistently taking 5 grams, so I'll just add an extra dose in the evening and see how it makes me feel. Like there's no downside to it. All right, so this will be the last one that we react to. This is another serious one. So I think it's hopefully I haven't listened to it because I'm reacting to it, but hopefully it will be a good message and it will help people that are struggling. So let's see. Let's get into it.
It's Men's Mental Health Month. So I wrote this letter, and it's probably been about almost 2 weeks that I've been wanting to film
This one's called
video.
What I Wish Every Guy Knew About Tough
And in
Times.
the interim, I sent it to some of my friends. Friends that I know are presently struggling, going through some difficult circumstances. And these are people that range from their 20s, 30s, and 40s. It brought them a lot of comfort and a lot of ease. And what I hope to accomplish with this is if you're facing any sort of struggles, be it a man, be it a woman, I hope you find comfort in these words. I hope that you find the reassurance, the hope, and the drive necessary for you to get out of your circumstances. So,
before he gets into that, it is so important. I've done a lot of videos on mental health, and I think I'll go further into that because I do think this needs to be a spot where we can normalize it for men to admit that they have mental health issues, and it's fine, you know? And I think sometimes as men, we just need to hear that someone else we know is also struggling, and you're like, okay, so I'm not a piece of shit for struggling because my friend's struggling and I know he's not a piece of shit. So it's just helpful to have a community that says, you know, we're not over here like boohooing and crying, oh my God, I got this problem. No, it's just like, hey, I'm struggling. Hey, me too.
let me get into it. A letter to my past self, to the man that I used to be. I know you're doing everything you can just to hold it together, and it still feels like everything is falling apart. You're broke, you're overwhelmed, you're embarrassed to even look in the mirror because you don't recognize who you are anymore. You wake up and the first thing you feel is shame. Not motivation, not excitement, just shame. Because deep down, you know you're meant for more, but you can't figure it out or how to get there.
I think a lot of men have shame. And it's like what he said. I don't know what his story is, but sometimes we just feel shame and it has nothing to do with like something we did. It's more like we're ashamed of all the stuff we haven't done, or at least haven't done yet.
You keep showing up for everyone, but not for yourself. And when the day finally ends, you lie in bed wondering if this is all life is ever going to be. Just surviving. Just trying to make it through one more week. I know exactly how you feel, because I was you. There were nights that I couldn't sleep, days that I couldn't think, moments I seriously wondered if life was even worth continuing. I was scared to admit it to anyone. I was scared they would judge me.
I think a lot of people at some point in their life, if they admit it, they have had that very dark thought about, what is this all even for? What is the point? That is the bigger question, right? What is the point? I think the point is the pursuit of trying to answer that question. I think that's the point.
And worst of all, I was scared they wouldn't care at all. But if I could sit with you now, just you and me, this is what I would like to say to you. The pain you're feeling right now is not going to go away. Not yet. It's going to be there for a while longer. Things are going to be really hard. Maybe even harder than you think. And you need to prepare yourself for that. I know you're tired of pretending. I know you're tired of being strong all the time. But you don't have to fake it anymore. You just have to be honest. Honest with yourself. Honest with the people who care about you. You really don't need to be perfect. You're going to lose people along the way.
That's
so
true.
Be prepared for that. Some will walk out. some you'll outgrow, and some will just never understand what you're going through.
100%. And I think that that is okay. It's okay. People are going to change. You are going to change. And sometimes the person they change into doesn't align with who you are, and vice versa. Sometimes you're going to grow and change into somebody that no longer aligns with them. We're all just trying to be happy for the time, that we're spent on this earth. And sometimes someone else chooses to spend their time with someone that's not you, and that makes them happy, and that is okay.
But that's okay, because you're not doing this for them. I know you may not like hearing this, but you are going to fail. You're going to screw shit up. You're going to question yourself more than you can count. The man you are today, he's not weak. He's just been fighting for far too long. But that ends now. One day, you'll wake up and you'll realize that you made it happen. Not because someone handed it to you, but because you earned it.
I think this whole thing of like writing a letter to your younger self is a pretty cool idea, and it might be something that I'm gonna do. Probably kind of healing, to be honest.
Bit by bit, struggle by struggle, you'll have people looking up to you. You'll be the one giving the advice. You'll be the one helping others through their storm.
Literally looks like there's a storm behind him.
You don't need to be fearless. You just need to be brave enough to take that next step. Start with one hard conversation with yourself. Do something that puts you outside of your comfort zone. In fact, do something that scares you. Because that's how it starts. That's where everything changes.
I agree 100% with that. I have a video and it's called Adventure is the Catalyst for Growth. And I truly believe that if you want to change who you are, for whatever reason, you're not happy with who you are, change is not going to come from continuing to do the same things and live the same life that you are currently living. And when you choose to do something that you don't typically do, one would call that an adventure. And when you step out on that adventure, you are leaving behind your old version. And through the adventure is the catalyst for growth. And hopefully when you're out on that adventure, whether it's this crazy hiking trip that you planned solo, whatever the adventure is, if it's outside of your comfort zone, you will come back changed. And if you do it enough times, you will look back on the person that you were a couple years ago and you'd be like, I don't even recognize that person anymore. I have grown so much since then. But it doesn't just happen. It doesn't just happen. You have to be purposeful about it. You have to guide yourself towards change. And you're not going to know what the change is. The change is over there. Go that way. If you go that way long enough, you won't be that person anymore.
You don't need to have everything figured out right now. But what you need to do is you need to keep going. You need to keep showing up, even when it feels pointless. In fact, especially when it feels pointless. Because that is when it really matters the most. I promise you, it's going to be worth it. So, get back up, wipe your face, take a deep breath. Because this isn't your end, this is your beginning. With you always, Noel.
I knew that was going to be a powerful video. And it just makes me think about all the things that I have changed and how much I've grown as a person. And I truly wish that for all of you out there, if you are looking to become a different person, to change, to improve, that should be one of the most important things in your life. You should prioritize that. I said in a video recently, we need to be our own best friend, because throughout this whole journey, from the day we're born till the day we die, we are the only consistent person in our lives. Friends come and go, relationships come and go, parents come and go. We're the only one. That voice in your head, it better be a friendly one, because you might have to listen to that voice for 80 something years or whatever. So, yeah. Be kind to yourself. All right. I think we're going to call it right there, boys. That was good. That was like an hour and a half stream. That seems to be about the time. I'm going to get better at kind of scheduling and structuring and staying on task and stuff like that, because I would like it to be just kind of flow, not a whole lot of waste of time, and then boom, we're done. So thank you very much for watching. I appreciate all of you. Like, comment, subscribe. Most likely, if you're already watching this, you're already subscribed, but if not, please subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. And see you next Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Peace.